Picture this. Two people are standing outside a convenience store. They're talking. Nothing looks unusual. A couple of people nearby are scrolling their phones. A car pulls in. Life is completely normal. Then in less than 3 seconds, everything changes. One person is on the ground. The other is walking away. And every single witness standing there says the exact same thing afterward. I didn't see it coming. But here's the truth that most people are never told. And this is the part that should genuinely bother you. It was coming. For a full 30 seconds before that punch landed, that person's body was broadcasting every single intention loud and clear. The signals were there, every single one of them, playing out in real time, right in front of multiple sets of human eyes. And nobody caught it, not because those people were stupid, not because they were distracted, but because nobody ever taught them what to look for. We move through life assuming that violence arrives like a lightning bolt, sudden, random, and completely unpredictable. So we never develop the ability to see what is actually happening right in front of us. But violence is not a lightning bolt. It is a slow build, a sequence, a story that the body tells before the mind ever commits to action. And once you understand that story, once you learn to read the 4 signals we're going to break down today, you will never watch a tense situation the same way again. This is not about becoming paranoid. This is not about walking through life expecting danger around every corner. This is about developing a layer of awareness that most people on this planet simply do not have. By the end of this video, you will have it. Here is something worth thinking about for a moment. Your ancestors, the ones who survived long enough to eventually produce you, were extraordinarily good at detecting threats. They had to be. Their lives literally depended on reading the environment, reading other humans, and making fast, accurate judgments about danger. That ability was not optional. It was the difference between coming home and not coming home. Fast forward to today. We live in a world where most of us have never had to genuinely read another person for survival. We grew up in classrooms, in offices, in neighborhoods where the social rules kept most situations from escalating into real physical danger. And because we never had to sharpen that skill, we lost access to it. Not permanently, but practically. The average person walking into a tense situation is reading the wrong things entirely. They are listening to words. They are watching facial expressions. They are trying to figure out what the other person is feeling emotionally. And while they're doing all of that, the body is quietly doing something completely different. Something far more honest. Something that words and facial expressions can fake, but the body almost never can. Here is a foundation you need to understand before we get into the 4 signals. The human body responds to stress before the conscious mind makes a decision. What that means is, when someone crosses the internal threshold toward violence, their nervous system reacts first. Adrenaline moves, muscles shift, breathing changes, weight redistributes. All of this happens automatically, involuntarily, and almost always visibly, if you know exactly where to look. Violence does not arrive without warning. It arrives without recognized warning. And that distinction is everything. The 4 signals we are about to walk through are not theories. They are patterns pulled from real footage, real incidents, and real training programs built for people whose job requires them to see what is coming before it arrives. Now you are going to learn what they learn. Let's get into it. Before a single word gets louder, before a single fist gets raised, the body moves. And it does not move obviously. It does not throw its hands up or lean forward dramatically the way it does in movies. It makes small, quiet, almost invisible adjustments that most people completely overlook because they are focused on the face and the words. Here's what is actually happening. When a person's internal state shifts toward aggression, when the nervous system starts preparing for physical action, the body unconsciously begins to optimize itself for that action. Think of it like a car engine warming up before a race. You cannot always hear it from the outside, but under the hood, everything is shifting into a ready state. The first thing you will notice, if you know to look for it, is what is called body belating. The dominant shoulder begins to rotate slightly backward and away. It is subtle. We're not talking about someone dramatically turning sideways. We are talking about maybe a few inches of rotation. But that small movement is the body creating space and angle, unconsciously preparing to generate power in a forward strike. Try it yourself right now. If you were to throw your strongest punch, what would your body naturally do first? It would rotate. It would create that angle. The body knows this instinctively even when the conscious mind is not fully committed to anything yet. Now here's the second part of this signal that is even easier to miss. The dominant foot quietly pulls back, not dramatically, not into some wide fighting stance that looks like a movie scene, just a few inches, just enough to shift the body weight into a position where forward explosive movement becomes possible. In real footage of actual attacks, this foot movement typically happens around 4 to 5 seconds before physical contact. 4 to 5 seconds. That is your window. And most people do not even realize the window exists. When you are in a tense conversation, and you notice someone's shoulder rotating subtly away from you, and their back foot quietly sliding into a slightly wider base, your brain should immediately register one thing. The situation just changed. Not might change. Not could change. Just changed. Because the body does not lie. The body does not rehearse. The body is simply responding to what the nervous system is already preparing for. This one sounds simple, but when you actually understand what it means and why it happens, it is one of the most unsettling signals on this entire list. When a person is genuinely engaged with you, whether the conversation is tense or completely relaxed, they look at you, directly at you, because social interaction requires us to track the other person's face for cues. It is instinctive. It is how humans have always communicated. But when someone is preparing to attack, something shifts in their gaze. They stop looking directly at you and begin looking slightly past you or to the side of you. Their eyes move to a position where they can take in your entire body, your shoulders, your hands, your feet, all at once using their peripheral vision. And here's why this matters so much. Direct eye contact actually narrows your field of vision. When you lock eyes with someone, your brain focuses processing power on their face and loses some awareness of what the rest of their body is doing. An aggressor, even one acting on pure instinct without any tactical training, unconsciously knows this. By shifting their gaze slightly off-center, they expand their visual field. They can now track your hands, your stance, and any movement you might make, while still appearing to be engaged in the conversation. Think about that for a second. In over 80% of real attack footage studied by behavioral analysts, the aggressor shifted their gaze off direct eye contact in the moments immediately before striking. It was consistent, it was reliable, and it was almost universally missed by the person being attacked. This signal shows up everywhere once you know it exists. Road rage confrontations, arguments that turn physical outside venues, workplace situations that escalate suddenly. The gaze shift happens every time. So here is your practical takeaway from this signal. If someone in a tense situation stops holding direct eye contact with you and instead begins looking slightly past you or to the side while still facing you, do not interpret that as disengagement. Do not interpret it as them calming down. Interpret it as preparation, because that is exactly what it is. This is where the science becomes impossible to fake and almost impossible to hide. When a human being crosses into a genuine threat state, when real adrenaline enters the bloodstream in significant amounts, the body has a non-negotiable physiological response. It does not ask for permission. It does not wait for the conscious mind to catch up. It simply executes a sequence that evolution has been running for hundreds of thousands of years. And that sequence is visible. The first thing that changes is breathing. The demand for oxygen increases sharply and suddenly. You will see the nostrils flare slightly, sometimes called alar flaring, as the body tries to pull in more air quickly. The chest rises differently. Breathing becomes slightly faster and slightly shallower in a way that is distinct from normal conversational breathing. Watch for it around the nose and chest. It is subtle, but it is real. The second thing you will notice is in the eyes. Increased adrenaline causes a spike in blink rate. The eyes begin blinking more frequently than normal as the nervous system ramps up its processing speed. Most people would never think to watch someone's blink rate in a tense conversation, which is exactly why the signal goes unnoticed almost every single time. But the third part of this signal is the one that is easiest to catch if you are paying attention. Watch the hands. Specifically, watch the fingers. When adrenaline floods the system, the muscles in the hands begin to respond. The fingers do not suddenly clench into a fist the way people always talk about as a warning sign. That happens later. What happens first, sometimes 30 full seconds before any obvious fist forms, is a slow, gradual curling of the fingers toward the palm. It is not dramatic. It looks almost like the person is just relaxing their hand. But it is consistent. It is measurable. And it is one of the clearest early indicators that the body is already preparing for impact, even if the person has not consciously decided anything yet. Breathing shift, increased blink rate, fingers slowly curling. 3 things happening at the same time in the same person tells you something very specific. Their body has already made a decision. The mind is just catching up. Here is a signal that is easiest to spot and the most commonly misread: fidgeting. Before you think this is too simple, stay with me, because the difference between normal fidgeting and pre-violence fidgeting is a distinction that could genuinely matter in the right situation. Everyone fidgets. It is normal human behavior. People tap their feet, shift their weight, touch their face, adjust their clothing. This is baseline behavior, and it means absolutely nothing on its own. Here is what actually matters. It is not whether someone is fidgeting. It is whether their fidgeting suddenly increases or changes in pattern during your interaction with them. When adrenaline enters the system at high levels, the body needs somewhere to put that energy. It is like pressure building inside a container. The nervous system looks for release valves, and those release valves show up as repetitive physical movement, bouncing on the feet, rapid leg movement, hands rubbing together, or moving repeatedly against clothing or thighs. The key word is repetitive, and the key signal is change. If someone has been standing relatively still during your conversation and then suddenly begins bouncing slightly on their feet, that is a signal. If someone who is calm begins repeatedly rubbing their hands against their legs, that is a signal. If the energy in their body visibly increases while the conversation itself has not necessarily escalated into shouting or obvious anger, that is a signal worth taking extremely seriously. What you are watching in that moment is a body burning off adrenaline it does not know what else to do with. The practical framework here is simple. Establish a baseline early. Notice how someone is moving and behaving at the start of your interaction, and then track whether that baseline changes. Not whether they are nervous, whether they become more nervous in a sudden or escalating way. Change is the signal, not behavior in isolation, but behavior shifting from what it was. Before we close this out, there is one more layer to this conversation that most people never reach, and it might be the most important one. Everything we've talked about today, the body belating, the gaze shift, the breathing changes, the adrenaline expenditure, all of it is a story about fear, not confidence, not power, not dominance. Fear, the person displaying pre-violence signals, is almost never the calmest, most confident person in the room. They are the most scared. Their body is preparing for a threat that their nervous system has already registered, whether that threat is real or perceived. The aggression is not an expression of strength. It is an armor built around something that feels deeply threatened. This does not make it less dangerous. Not for a single second does understanding this mean you should lower your guard, but it should completely change how you see it. When you watch someone blade their body and shift their gaze and start burning off nervous energy, you are not watching a predator in full control. You are watching a human being whose fear has run out of other options. You are watching a script that probably got written a long time ago, in a childhood bedroom, in a schoolyard, in some moment where that person decided that the only way to stay safe was to strike first. That understanding does not require you to become their therapist in a dangerous moment, but it does give you something powerful. It gives you clarity. It removes the confusion that makes tense situations feel random and unpredictable. Because when you see aggression as fear, you stop being surprised by it. You start being able to read it, anticipate it, and in many cases, create enough space between yourself and it to stay completely safe. Awareness is not paranoia. Awareness is simply seeing what is actually there. Let's bring this all the way home. For signals, each one quiet, each one easy to miss if you have never been shown what to look for, and each one, when you put them together, forming a picture that is almost impossible to misread once you know it exists. body repositioning, the shoulder rotating back, the foot quietly pulling away, the body optimizing itself for action before the mind commits, the gaze shift, eyes moving off direct contact, expanding the visual field, tracking your whole body from the outside of your peripheral vision, physiological changes, breathing shifting, blink rate increasing, fingers slowly curling, adrenaline rewriting the body's chemistry in real time, energy expenditure, nervous repetitive movement that suddenly appears or suddenly intensifies, a body trying to bleed off pressure it cannot contain. These are not theories. They are patterns, consistent, reliable, human patterns that show up across cultures, across contexts, and across decades of real documented incidents. And now you see them. That is not a small thing. Most people will move through their entire lives completely blind to this layer of human behavior. They will keep saying, "I didn't see it coming." Not because the signals were not there, but because they were never taught to look. You were just taught to look. Use that knowledge calmly. Use it wisely. Use it not to live in fear, but to live in clarity. Because the goal was never to make you afraid of people. The goal was to make sure you can see people clearly, all the way down to what their body is saying when their words are saying something completely different. Stay aware. Stay grounded. And remember, the safest person in any room is not the loudest or the strongest. It is the one who sees what everyone else is missing.